All right. I don't know, Lee, if I was supposed to start the webinar or if you're supposed to start the webinar, but listen, it's Monday. We're just
Hey,
tag
it
teaming this
started.
thing.
That's all that matters.
That's all that matters. First off, everyone, welcome to another campaign kickoff call. We host these every single Monday at 2 o'clock or at 2:02 Eastern, depending on when you're watching this recording. We do these calls because we found it to be really useful for our community of the 4,000 agents who are part of Listing Leads to have a session every single Monday to say, listen, here's what we got planned for this week. And I come from the marketing agency world. And what we used to do in a marketing agency, we used to sit down and plan, usually, maybe a month or a quarter in advance. But I actually find it a lot more useful to plan week by week. And the reason is because when you can sort of be a little bit more nimble, you can kind of react to what's happening in the market. So I don't want to write an email, Scott, that's like about market updates about interest rates in, let's say, April, and then send it out in June because a lot can happen in that time frame. So like this is why I love these calls. And by the way, if you're just jumping on with us, let us know in the chat. Is this your first campaign kickoff call, or are you an OG? Are you attending every single week on Mondays and Tuesdays? And Lee, I got to pass the mic to you here for our first timers. We got a lot of first timers here. Why don't you give a quick rundown of what we are doing with our campaign kickoff calls before I bring on Scott and Tiffany?
Love it. Yeah. So campaign kickoff is our plan to get with you, get your marketing going for the week. We go over the not only the weekly listing attraction plan, but the impetus behind that, the strategy behind it, so you can use that to engage and or generate more leads. However, for this end of the year, we're doing super special sessions with guests, and I'm
Hmm.
really excited today to dig in with Scott and Tiffany. So
Yeah. So on that note, perfect segue. On that note, Tiffany, these are usually fast-paced sessions where we try to do 30 to 40 minutes. Today we'll probably go a little bit longer because we have some more stuff to share at the end that I definitely want to unpack for people. But we wanted to focus on direct mail. And you and I, Tiffany, have talked about direct mail. Scott, you have become like Scott. I basically now put your postcards when I'm speaking on stage in front of agents, and everyone's phone goes up and takes a picture of it. I'm still giving you credit for now, Scott, but eventually I'm like, yeah, this is my idea. But with both of you have approached direct mail in different ways. Tiffany from an operation execution perspective, Scott a sort of a more creative new angle perspective, and I think what would be really helpful for our community is we have so many people who want to be sending more direct mail. I mean, Tiffany, you know this because you get a lot of people who ask you questions about this. Like they want to do more direct mail. They just don't really know where to start. And actually, in the chat for me before we dive into it, let me know in the chat, is direct mail a priority for you in 2026? Do you want to get better at it? Do you want to get more efficient at it? Do you want to make more money from it? Let us know in the chat right now if that's a priority for your business. Tiffany, why don't you maybe set the stage for us? My first question is, okay, we got a lot of yeses. I mean, they're pouring in. How do you think about this sort of medium of direct mail? Like, how do you think about it as your overall strategy? Why do you invest your time and money and effort into it? Like, what's your perspective on it? Because a lot of agents right now want to do it, but maybe need a little bit of guidance in terms of how to think about it the right way.
Well, I think there's a two-part of like why I kind of back direct mail so much, and maybe it's because I'm a little old school. I've been in the business 20 years.
Hmm.
But I also come from a graphic design marketing background, and um, people are inundated with a lot of social stuff, and it's overwhelming, and it's constantly in your face, and it's quick, it's short-winded. You're there, you're not. You're there, you're not.
Yeah.
Where as a direct mail piece, it one we're less often do we get these pieces now, and if it's done well, it's going to stand out,
Hmm.
but it's going to be in somebody's hand at least the amount of time to walk and throw it in the garbage can. You at least
Yeah.
get that long where they're holding it and
Yeah.
touching it and connecting to it. So even if they just look at it for a moment, you've probably gotten more you know, vision time in front of
Yeah.
that person you would have any digitally scrolling.
Hmm.
So for me, I come from kind of that old school standpoint, and I also look at it from the idea that I tend to also market towards an age group that's a little bit older than social only.
Yeah.
So it's a
Yep.
way to reach people in both ways. And it also, even if it's a moment, it's still building brand. If they
Yeah.
see your logo, see your connection, there's a brand connection. So
Yeah.
I come from that background.
Well, it's funny, Tiffany, two thoughts there. In marketing, there's something called the rule of seven, which is they say people need to interact with your brand like 7 times to be able to perform an action. Now, that feels like a totally made up stat from someone in marketing, right? But I think it does actually, there is a concept that we do know to be true, which is repetition is persuasive. And so getting kind of in their mailbox, and I love your framing of this. Like if you're going after the silver tsunami, which by the way, for the record, represents half of all of the sales in the US this year, they are more likely to open up a letter and remember and recall that than they are maybe to remember the thing they just scroll through on Instagram or on social media or on Facebook, as an example. Scott, coming to you, when you think about direct mail, Tiffany talks about maybe the importance of basically having something physical and tangible in the hands, and like Tiffany, I would say that's a staying power, right? Tiffany, you shared the story with me before in the past, like people like have like literally held on to your mailers for months, which I found to be the craziest thing of all time. Like no one really like hangs on to an Instagram post for months. Scott, what do you think about direct mail? Like, A, have you been doing it for a really long time? Is it new to your business? And then B, like your perspective on it as a marketing channel for agents.
Yeah, no, I've been a big direct mail for as long as I've been in real estate, which has been about 15 years. And to me, it is about the repetition and the consistency. So I think that where a lot of agents fail at it is they do it one time for one listing and then
Yep.
they stop doing it. And so for me, with every single listing, I know that they're going to get a just listed card for sure. They're going to get an open house mailer for sure, and they're going to get a just sold card. Now, this is in addition to the other channels that Tiffany was mentioning and that Listing Lead provides that you can combine with that, whether it's your social touches, videos, whatever. But this is
Hmm.
something tangible that they're going to get. And I think that the real estate space is focused a lot when we're talking about social on don't just post a just listed card or a just listed graphic on your social media. And I think direct mail is the same way.
Hmm.
Leads has created all of these different templates that you can use that are not, hey, this house was just listed. So we're telling the story of maybe what we did to get the property listed,
Yeah.
or maybe something unique about the home, the neighborhood, why someone should live there, that
Yeah.
I think is resonating different with people versus sending out that just listed or just sold that, like a social graphic, is boring.
Yeah, totally. Well, Scott, we'll share some examples of your work that you've done. Um, and we'll pull some of them up and we'll share them a little bit later in today's pod as we go through some examples. But let's actually go through some scenarios here because what I thought would be helpful, and let us know in the chat, what is the biggest thing preventing you from sending or starting to use direct mail? Like, let us know in the chat, what's the biggest thing that's preventing you from starting to use direct mail? Now, look at the comments right away, which is exactly where I want to go, Tiffany. Money, 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 cost, right? These are some of the big ones. So, Tiffany, let me paint a scenario for you. Okay, you got a tight budget. You got 300 bucks, maybe 500 bucks a month to spend on mailing. You got to get an ROI. I mean, like this is like, you can't have this 18-month window where you're investing 6K and then hoping to get ROI. You got to fill up your pipeline right now. Put yourself in that position as an agent and guide us through what you would do given those constraints.
Well, I was in those constraints, last year about this time, and I kind of had to go back to because I rebuilt my whole business, but I had to kind of go back to you've got to really make sure you're fine-tuned and
Hmm.
that you're reaching the exact person you want to hit because I did a little and I'm more than happy to share a link. I created a little prompt of making my buyer avatar who I want to reach, who I work with best and who I want to reach
Yep.
because I didn't want to waste my time on reaching everybody and I didn't want to just blast out and say, "Oh, I want this," when it's not where I want to go with my business. And I think you
Yep.
really have to ask yourself who you want to reach, and that's marketing 101. Who is who are you going after? But as
Yep.
a business owner, and you want to kind of, as Tom said, Ferry says, your vibe attracts your tribe. Well, who do I want to reach? I want to reach somebody
Hmm.
that already likes me or has a connection to me. And so for me, I think if it's going to be I rather go high quality over quantity
Hmm.
and I want to go high touch. So if you're doing a buyer letter or you're doing I just sold this property and you only have X amount of dollars, then you better fine tune who you're reaching out to.
Yep.
Who is that person? Is it going to be that seller that's just like the person you just sold, who will understand the story you're telling in your seller card? Don't just say it just sold. Find people who match who your sellers were, because then they'll know exactly who that they'll connect immediately, right? If
Hmm.
you're sending mailers and you just did a right sizing sale for somebody who's 70 and you're
Hmm.
sending it to people with the average price point and buying size that's maybe a 30, 40-year old,
Hmm.
that's you just missed your mark. So you've got to be like, okay, well, I've got to X size. They want to go smaller. I've got to go X age. How long have
Hmm.
they been in the home? So get on your either have your title rep or get on your title site, and I have a link I can show where I kind of how I fine tune and do the parameters so that
Yep.
I'm actually hitting the exact person I want to reach rather than spreading it wide and wasting my money.
There's a great line by Jim Collins. I'm gonna repeat what you said because I think it's so important, Tiffany. Great line from Collins. He says, fire bullets and cannonballs. And this idea of what you're describing is you're saying, listen, when you have a smaller budget and you are constrained, you kind of only can fire cannonballs, which is you have to say, I can't send out 5,000 mailers to my entire farm. I have to say, I have to work backwards from my avatar, which an avatar could be the sociodemographics. It could be of course, their age. It could include things like their location, and then you have sort of like the market layer on top of that, which is going to be their price point, their area, the type of home that they're in. Let's actually take a hot second because we get this question literally all the time, Tiffany, which is building your list. Because we recommend PropStream and Property Radar. We've mentioned using your title wrap. What is your process for building? So let's say people are listening right now. They're like, okay, Tiffany, I got it. I'm gonna take before I send a mailer out. I'm gonna build my avatar. I'm gonna build my sort of market, who I'm going after. Where do you get your list from that you find to be the easiest and fastest and least expensive?
For me, First American Title, I think most title companies have some kind of connection, has a back end farming RE.
Yeah.
Uh, and I like it because I can do it when I want it. I don't have to wait for the title rep to send me something. So it could be, you know, 9 o'clock at night and I'm sitting there creating my farm. So I map it just almost like the same way I would if I was looking for a property for my client, right?
Mm.
So I do a
Yep.
polygon. Then instead of narrow, I don't necessarily play if it's a sizing thing, then I will play with square footage. But I'm going to play with how long they've been in the home. I'm not even try to hit people who've not been there at least 2 years. If
Yep.
it's a silver tsunami, I'm looking at 5 to 10 plus years.
Mm-hmm.
And it can help you narrow down all the parameters. So you could hit, I mean, there's times where I've narrowed it down so tight, it's like you've only 20 people because but for me, if
Yep.
those are the 20 that I'm high targeting,
Yep.
then do it. I mean, my buyer letter, I was only hitting 50 at a time.
Yep.
It wasn't a high quantity thing, but I
Mm-hmm.
get 4 to 5 people responding because I was so targeted on who I went after. So
Let
I
me just
think
hit
it's really
pause there,
important
Tiffany,
on
because I
that.
think this is the because Tiffany, I didn't remember this, but when I was in the first time you and I got connected, I was in Las Vegas and I saw something you posted in our group or maybe sent out on social media about the Magic Buyer Letter, and I shot a video, an Instagram reel at the time outside of like the Wynn Hotel in Vegas,
Yeah.
and because I was so blown away by the response rate. So did everyone pick up on that? 40 to 50 letters, which Tiffany, cost of that being what? I mean, like,
I have paper, which most people can get from their office if they don't want to spend it. You could print it at your office if you're remote. I mean, and print at your own printer.
and then stamps,
Um,
right?
Stamps and envelopes. And I don't go fancy with my envelopes. I get the big bulks thing from Office Depot, white.
Yeah.
I pick up some colorful pens or something that makes it look better. Get a stamp that looks cool. Don't make it, look like it's, the flag stamp. And
Yeah.
that's
Yeah. And so you're talking cost outside of time. Because listen, there are only two constraints in business, which is it's money and time. And if you have no time to solve that, you have money. Well, if you have no money, well, you have plenty of time. So, so
I mean, I think they were less with the cost of stamps. I mean, I think total each was maybe 15 more cents
yeah. So, I mean,
max. you know?
Yes. So you're looking at certainly less than $1 or $1.50 per letter, all in on hard costs. So the point is that if you can get 10% of people to respond to a mailer, that is extraordinarily high. Um, it's almost impossible to do that at scale. And what you're saying, which I think is a really important lesson for everybody here, is small is the new big. Is I would rather you send out 6 micro campaigns if you have time and budget than one massive campaign. Generic one as an example. Scott, what would you add to that? Like talking about, let's just stay on the topic, Scott, of just like keeping your costs low and then focusing on building list. What would you add to what Tiffany just said there?
I see a few people asking about different resources for, how to find lists, and I use Realtor Property Resource. So if you're a Realtor member, it's just NARRPR, and
Yeah.
this is a great one because you can get on anytime, get as specific as you want, length of ownership, you can polygon, the things that she was mentioning, and that to me has been very, very helpful to be able to do that, and it'll even create the labels for you. So one of my constraints, fortunately, is not money, but it is time, and so I
Yeah.
leverage NARRPR for my time because it'll create the labels for me to where I can just hit print, identify who I'm sending it to, and then just print it out. And I also love what Tiffany is saying about being real specific, because if your message is landing on someone who just bought within the past 3, 6 months, they're probably not likely going to respond to whatever campaign it is that you're sending out. So going through and being specific, that way your message is landing on the ears that are open to receiving it.
Yeah, I love that. And so, Tiffany, building on that idea, let me actually give everyone a quick pro tip here because one thing that I like to do when it comes to direct mail, and I've coached people on this before, is everybody should understand once they've gone through like what Scott and Tiffany talk about, like this idea of going specific and having an avatar and understanding your market, you have got to take this moment, especially in December, when maybe your market isn't at this is not your like your main season, let's just say, like you're normally 30% less production, whatever it might be. This is when you need to reevaluate the turnover rate in your market. Now, turnover rate, very basic concept. If there are 100 homes, 100 homes in your area, and you just simply look at the number of homes that have sold in that area equals your turnover rate. So 100 homes in the area, 10 have sold, you have a 10% turnover rate in that area based on whatever time frame, 6 months, 12 months, however you're looking back. It is one of the best forward-looking indicators for how likely it is someone is going to sell is looking at the turnover rate of that area. Now, a lot of people get fancy with these seller scores, but when you're advertising to or you're marketing to an audience, you're not marketing to, as David Ogilvy would say, a standing audience, you're marketing to a marching band. So you want to focus on high turnover areas. So here's my advice. You can get this data from your MLS. Download the entire sales history. You can map it with, all the off-market listings. AI can actually analyze your area for you to identify the high turnover parts of your market. Now, let me be clear about something. It can go as granular as not just, hey, in Bend, Oregon, in this zip code, we have a turnover rate of 7%. No, it's going to say like, hey, in Bend, at price point between 600,000 and 800,000 with has like 4 bedrooms, 3 baths at 1,200 square feet, that cohort actually turns over at 16% per year. And like it can get so granular where if you take what Tiffany and Scott are saying here, you can start to build your micro farms of high turnover homes. So if I was listening right now, yeah, Andrew, you can give it the subdivision name, you can get into all the details. So whatever data you give it, it can analyze. If I'm thinking about investing in direct mail right now, guys, I'm saying to myself, listen, I am going to understand my market turnover rate better than any other person in my area. I want to find out where those hot spots are so that I know if I'm doing, let's say, just listen, just sold, if I'm doing magic buyer letter, or if I'm just doing a general farming campaign, I'm hitting those hot spots. That's going to increase the likelihood of you actually getting a response rate on that. Tiffany, we have to go on to talk about this idea of like the creative part of writing copy. So you've got the name, you've got your avatar, you've got your list, right? You know who you're going after. give us some insight in terms of the creative part. And Scott will give some examples for you as well in a minute here. But like, how do you think about the messaging? Because this is where a lot of people struggle. A lot of people have difficulty with. Even if you're part of listing leads, there's a desire to like, try to figure out how to way to make it like your own. But give us your take on personalization and messaging.
Well, I think number one, you should already have an idea of what your brand vibe is.
Mm-hmm.
I think something that people tend to miss, and this is probably because I'm more of an art background, but if if you can't be identified pretty quickly of who you are in a pattern as you build yourself up in your farm or wherever it be, you're failing right there. Because
Yeah.
if every piece looks different, there's no consistency, there's no energy to it, it's just going to start getting mixed in with everybody else. So you should already get go from your business standpoint would be what is a font you use. You don't have to
Mm-hmm.
stick to the same one, but maybe that's your font for your main type. What is your logo? And I'm not talking about your company logo, I'm talking about your logo. So I have a brokerage, so it's underneath my logo,
Yeah.
two pieces. But everything should have continuity. So they go, oh, because if you're going to go through a whole campaign of marketing or building pieces, it better have consistency. So I always use my all my signs. My colors are black and white, and then all my signs have the extra color is short like a chartreuse green,
Mm-hmm.
and everything I have has that in there. So
Yeah.
um, even my magic buyer letter, I have an old one sitting here. It's just got a hint of chartreuse green,
Mm-hmm.
just because that's who I am. Um, and somebody asked earlier if you on letters, do I include as a return address? Yes, I don't, I'm not an incognito agent. I have
Yeah.
my
Great.
logo and
Yeah.
my company, my office address because I'm not trying to sneak in your mailbox. I'm doing something for somebody else. I'm a business. I don't think it's kind of silly if you're trying to pretend you're not. They're gonna have to
Mm-hmm.
dig through and kind of probably get irritated. But yeah, so I think it's all about branding and immediately having an impact that they know who you are and then they connect to that. So that'd be like the first get go is making sure that when you're designing something, it is sharing that vibe of who you are. And it'll make it easier in the long run because you'll start having a template style that people will recognize. It doesn't mean it can't look different each time, but there should be some continuity.
What's important, by the way, you guys can use AI to help you build a brand kit. So, people always say, your logo is not your brand. Okay, true. But what's important is consistency across your brand. And that means consistency in your logo, consistency in your font, consistency in the language that you use, consistency in every single aspect of it so people can build an association with your brand. That's really all brand is that if I see the thing that you're selling, I immediately have an association. If I don't have association, it means I just don't know what your brand is. And so I think one of the simplest ways to think about what's the definition of brand, it is simply an association. And association is that you're going to have association of feelings, emotions, value. These are all things that you can extract when you see a brand. And you can see even like I'll give you an example of this. This is kind of a bad example, but maybe this will work. We'll see if it works or not. Like what is the brand you think of when you see this logo here? What's the first brand you see? Just drop in the chat right now. What's the first brand you think of when you see that logo? Okay. Google, 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 Google. Okay. It doesn't say the word Google. Someone says Toys R Us. Yeah, that counts too. But for the most part, all of us are saying Google. Why? Because even though it doesn't have a single G or O or L in it, or an E for that matter, it has the same look and feel as a Google logo. I asked Gemini to create this for me while we're talking about this. So when Tiffany says this idea of like consistency in your brand colors and fonts, that's obviously what she's referring to is you want to have people build that association. So messaging, we talked a little bit about messaging here, but and I think Lee, someone was asking about the letters that we use. We dropped that in the chat as well. Cool, thank you, Lee. I'm going to talk about the post mail experience here in a second, but Scott, I want to get your take on messaging and I'm going to share something here for a second, Scott. So I'll pull it up. But while I'm pulling it up, Scott, give me a sense of what is your creative process around messaging? Like, what is your process for coming up with your one-liners, with your angles, because you have done some of the most creative work in our community, and I think it'd be really helpful for people to see kind of what your process looks like.
Yeah, so process for me always starts with going to listing leads and seeing what is close enough to start. And where I'll admittedly get a little bit too into the weeds is getting really specific.
Hmm.
Going, oh, I need to tweak this. And so while I think it's a strength, it can also be a hiccup for some if you focus too much on having the exact specific language. But what I like to do is, like Tiffany is saying, know who your piece is going to so that it can be a personalized message. So I'm in Salt Lake City, Utah, in a suburb called Draper, and there's about 1,800 homes. And our community is very mountain oriented. And so, what I like to do is share specific things that people in my community relate to. So,
Hmm.
if it's talking about a trail that people will be on, or the dog park, or the local schools, or the community center, each time I have a specific messaging going out, for example, like a magic buyer letter, I'm talking about the reasons why that person wants to live here. And one that I'm rolling out this week is talking about how they want to live up here because of the trails and because their dog is determined to hike every day on this off-leash dog park.
Yeah.
What that does for me is it becomes more relatable because I'm talking about a specific place in a specific community that is very relatable to the people that this message is going out to versus we buy cheap houses or whatever, where it's like, okay, this is a blanket, it's going straight to the trash. So I try to be very, very intentional with knowing who my end user is, that they're going to feel like this was meant for them. And if they're thinking about selling,
Yeah.
I am legit and they should reach out.
Hmm. It's one of my favorite lines in business strategy, Scott, which is it's for businesses, it's take every weakness and turn it into a strength and take every strength and turn it into a weakness. And so for these large organizations who have a big budget, which you don't have, meaning if you're listening right now, maybe you can't spend 15,000, 20,000 a month advertising and marketing. Well, they're big, they're slow, they're bureaucratic, and likely they're national. You're small, you're nimble, you're local. Use the things that you have as the assets. Don't act like a big company. It's one of the fastest ways to go broke is to act like a big company. Leverage those skill sets. So Scott, talk us through this letter here because this is a postcard you sent out. I love this postcard so much because actually in the chat, you guys got to let me know. Is days on market right now rising in your area? Like yes or no in the chat. Are you seeing an increase in days on market? And you can see Rebecca, yup, Matt, yup, yup. So Scott, I have always been against these letters which have been sold in 3 days above the ask price because I think it has the opposite effect that we think it's going to have, which is it has the effect of like, oh, well, that was easy. And that agent just made a lot of money. Let me just give you the guys the consumer perspective. A consumer gets a mailer that says, I sold the house in 3 days for 106% above the ask price. The consumer says, well, that agent got paid a lot of money for very little work. Or that agent isn't really good at pricing homes if they were off by 6%. Or man, that was easy. Maybe I could do that myself. And so this is the antithesis of that. This is for those people who right now, I mean, like this, there's never been a better market to be a great agent. So talk us through this campaign, please.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And I remember during COVID, I mean, agents were talking about how many homes we were selling so quick, and to me, it just irked me so much because that was the perception that people had. Well, why do I even need an agent? So
Hmm.
if you're on that point, this specific campaign, what I wanted to do here was just tell the story because in this particular townhome community, and this is in my target farm, there were a few homes that have been on the market for 5 and 6 months. And so what I wanted to do was just tell the story because they've driven by, they've seen the for sale sign, they maybe have seen it online.
Hmm.
Wanted to tell the story of what happened here. We went under contract, it came back on the market,
Yep.
and show that we were able to handle that resistance and still get the home sold. Because what people are hearing is that the market is slowing down and maybe now is not the best time to sell. But if I can go right at the core message of, yeah, it is taking a little bit longer to sell, but guess what? we're still selling houses. And when you have
Hmm.
brand repetition and consistency and recognition, I think people will come to you for the truth because you're
Yeah.
a trusted resource. You're a part of the community's fabric. And this was just a way to tell that story of like, hey, this wasn't easy, but we still got it done.
Yeah, there's a line that we like to use. A guy named Eli Wild, Scott, who was a famous speech coach, worked with Tom Ferry, myself this past year. He provides just tons of insight on how to become a better communicator and presenter. And the line that he gave to me, and I never forgot it, he goes, if you want to convince anyone to do anything, you have to destroy the objection in their mind. And what I heard you just say there is like, in their mind, they're saying, this market's tough, homes are not selling. If I list my house, it's going to probably sit for a long time. What if it doesn't sell? What if I don't get any offers? These are all objections that consumers are having. So with your just sold postcard, rather than just say, focusing on the flowers and the champagne and the balloons, you're saying, no, no, let me unpack this a little bit more, be more authentic about the messy middle that you go through when you're selling a house, and let me just go through their objections they have. I think it's a really, really smart approach. Tiffany, we have to end with this, which is you have talked about this because you put together, I think, one of my favorite guides of 2025, which is your Magic Buyer Letter Guide. And hopefully we can get a link to that to share with our community. But one thing that you talk a lot about is what happens after you send out the mailer. Like, what is so people want to know about the process around, okay, hey, you got 4 or 5 responses. Let's say you got that in January. Well, what are you doing with those leads? How are you keeping them organized? How are you following up still? Like, how are you making sure that you don't just get leads, but you actually get commission? That's kind of the real essence of the question here. So give us your thoughts on this.
Well, I think there's a twofold in it. Is one, it starts with that first reach. Do they come out to you? I mean, that is your starting point immediately.
Yep.
And it's not just, oh, how quick you answer, but how are you answering? And in my guide, one of the things I've broken down, I can share the link to the whole thing, but is setting that call and getting them on the phone and getting a, because if they're going to text you or call, there's all sorts of ways they're going to reach out.
Yep.
Immediately getting that phone conversation, because if you do what you do and you do it well, they're going to be able to connect with you. And that's the
Hmm.
number one goal, is creating connection, so that
Yep.
every step of the way, you're already building that level of trust,
Hmm.
and continuing that level of trust. So whatever, if it's from a campaign letter about recently sold or whatever it may be, when somebody's reaching out to you, um, you've got to start finding a way to connect with them. So ask them about them. Always start talking, opening the door for the conversation to continue
Hmm.
further and further. Once I've done that, if I'm going to go to their home, I also treat it that they're inviting me into their home. This is a big thing.
Yeah.
Think about it. You're letting in somebody you don't know in your house, and they're going to evaluate your home. They're going to look at it
Yeah.
and analyze it, and that's a very emotional thing. So I'm always telling them, like, hey, if you walked in my house right now, it looks like I just moved, because I have
Yeah.
a 6-year-old and a I have a 7.5-year-old and an 8-year-old. My house is a mess all the
Yeah.
time. So I'm
Yeah.
always trying to let them know, like, I don't expect your home to look picture perfect right now.
Yeah. Yep. Not ready for
Um,
prime time.
the
Yep.
opening to, hey, life is real and we're all real people, is
Yeah.
important. And then when I get there, you got to bring a nice gift saying, thanks so much for letting me in your home. So I bring
Hmm.
a little note card with a handwritten thing, and I put an envelope with a gift card, nothing big, or a little small, like a flower pot or something. Something to say, thank you for letting me in your home.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I have a whole spreadsheet of what stage they're at. Because I mean, I use my CRM, but for following how people are responding to a specific thing, I want to keep it organized
Yeah.
separately, because in my CRM, they're just in my CRM.
Yeah. Totally.
Even if I tag them 100 in all these ways. So I have a spreadsheet. I can share it and show what I've done if you want.
Sure.
Um,
And while you're pulling that up, Tiffany, real quick, somebody calls you from a magic buyer letter. Hey, I got your letter about a buyer. What do you say to that scenario? Just to back up for 1 second. Hey, I got your letter because like we talk about magic buyer letters being one of the best ways to have more conversations with sellers. They call you up. Hey, I saw your letter about buyer, and say I'm calling you back. What do you say to them? What's the sort of like the structure of that initial conversation? Just so we have some frame.
yeah. So if I get a call, whatever way they respond to me, I'm going to respond the same way,
Yeah.
text, whatever, and then open the door to a call. And so I'll say, well, thank you so much for reaching out, and I'll reiterate, I'm always using my clients' names
Yeah.
because again, it's not about me. I'm not trying to sell me. I'm trying to help my client. So, and Scott and I, we had a call the other day, and one of the things we talked about is a little bit unique, and I think with every neighborhood and area is my area, every home is very different. There are
Yeah.
some subdivisions where you can have the same floor plans nearby. So sometimes it's, hey, I'd love to preview your home and see if it fits my clients. I've looked at so many homes with them. I know what they're looking for. And Scott
Mm.
brought up, hey, um, a lot of the homes in my area kind of look alike. So if I'm trying to find somebody that home, it may not be, hey, what's unique about your home? Because you probably already know. So I would
Yeah.
say, even in that conversation, what updates have you done? Can you tell me a little bit about your home so that we can fine tune what may fit? But the goal is if I can walk in the home prior to my client and I try to save those potential sellers the stress of having more than one person come in if it's not a
Yeah.
so I say I'd love to take a look, quick walkthrough. I'll know really quick if it's a fit or not, and an option for them. And that's when I kind of open the door, and I'm always going to talk to them about what when I'm in that house, connect to their home. This is a home. Somebody's put blood, sweat, and tears in one shape, way, or the other. So you want to reach out to that.
Yeah.
They have a nice garden, talk about their garden.
Yeah.
And then bring some connector to who you are. So
Hmm.
my grandmother owned was the president of the Women's Gardening Club. So like, oh, my grandma was,
Hmm.
gardening's so big in my life. And I'll just mention, because if you can connect with them and respect what they've done to their home, you're already building that relationship.
Yeah.
Then to manage them, I always have my spreadsheet, and I'll reshare. I just want to share and talk at the same time.
Yeah, you're good. You can, if you want to pull it up, because I'll recap some things that you said there, which is probably my favorite phrase to use in a sales call or conversation is something gets people kind of open up a little bit more, and it's say more about that. Tell me more about that. So if Scott and I are having a conversation, you responded to, hey, we made some upgrades to the house. Yeah, we fixed the kitchen up. Oh, tell me more about that. Say more about that, Scott. And then like he's going to then go a lot deeper into that particular part of the conversation where now I'm gathering a lot more intel. So I think this idea of using specific language where you're guiding or directing or priming the person to kind of let their guard down. So Tiffany, we're looking at the spreadsheet. Walk us through this.
So I just call it my magic Biler. So I always have the date of who I sent it to. This is not just one, I have multiple people in it.
Yeah.
So I share what the response is to what it was. So this was 88 letters. These are the responses that were interested in talking or having me look at their home. So actually, all of these except for 12, I've walked through their house.
Oh, wow.
This is all within last year, about this time, December, January.
Yeah.
And what was interesting is this one was actually a neighbor of mine. She already had an agent she'd known her whole life.
Yeah.
But so that sold. Um, these two are selling this summer. They weren't a
Hmm.
fit for my client. They had no yard. Like their yard was on a slope. So even though they fit criteria square footage for yard lot size, they didn't fit for the layout.
Yeah.
Um, and they're actually all three of these are I'm still in touch on a constant basis. So even though they haven't happened, they're not closed as a non. In my letter, I asked for people to please let me know if they're not thinking of selling, just so I can update my client.
Yeah.
And I don't expect most people to respond to that, but many do. These are all people who actually said, sorry, we're not interested right now, which was very
Hmm.
nice. One man actually hand wrote me a letter back just to tell me, no, we're okay. Um, and then my another set of letters, this was March, um, ended up getting two listings out of that.
Yeah.
And one we pulled it off the market because she didn't get the house she wanted was sold. So she wanted to wait till her son went off to college this year.
Yeah.
And then this one sold. And this one actually has gotten me, and this is the one thing you have to keep in mind is these are listings, these are not matches for my client.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So my buyers end up finding a great house. Wasn't from my letter actually, but it did bring all of these. And then these also have gotten me two other listings from these listings. Again, quality, I sent 48, I sent 33, and I sent 24.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's all from there.
As we wrap here, because we have to move on to our AI stuff, and by the way, in the chat, let us know if this is helpful. If you want to give some love to Tiffany and Scott, they're both they both come from a place of generosity and place from sharing advice and trying to be helpful and useful and trying to basically, they're agents just like you. They understand how hard this business can be at times, and at Listing Leads, we're trying to create a community where we are, like you talk about, Tiffany, your vibe attracts your tribe. Like the type of people that we try to work with here at Listing Leads is really comes down to, like, if you go back to even our mission, we created this group was like, it's no complaining, no whining, no arguing. Let's just work together, figure out ways to help each other and grow businesses. Like this is not a place for us. Like we have workers here. And I think it's the only way to describe people who are blue collar workers, want to show up and do the job. There's nobody in the community who's saying like, who is trying to push an alternative motive. And the fact that the both of you are taking time out of your busy schedules to do this means the world to Lee and I, and we're very grateful to have you here. Let me say this as we transition here before we let Tiffany and Scott know. Scott, best place for people to stay connected to you online. Where should they follow you? How can they help you? If they got business they want to refer to you, like where would they do that to?
So I am newer to Instagram, but my Instagram is going to be the easiest. It's at Scott Steadman Utah. I'll drop it in the chat here, or maybe Lee can do it for me. At Scott Steadman Utah. And I'll follow back. I love to see what everyone's doing. And just like you're saying, Jimmy, I mean, this is the beginning of this year. I just said I'm just going to share more and see what happens with it. And I think that's, I'm no different than anyone that's in this group chat right now, other than I just started sharing what's working for me, and it's been very, very fun to be a part of the process.
Yeah, it's a lonely game. It's a lonely game, Scott, sometimes when you're basically like, screaming into the void. So I think being able to have like-minded people sharing advice. I mean, like I saw the video George posted online. I think like all of us are now looking to buy these one of the handwritten printers this past week. I saw that thing. That's on my Christmas list today. But I will say, and Scott, what part of Utah are you in? Remind us again.
Salt Lake City.
Salt Lake City. Okay. Which, by the way, a lot of people are relocating to Salt Lake City in the Listing Leads community. So if you have a referral, if you have someone who's looking to relocate or looking to sell in Salt Lake, by all means, reach out to Scott. He's your guy. And Tiffany is in Bend, Oregon. Is it Oregon or Oregon? Is it Oregon?
Oregon is how we say it.
You could tell I'm a Yankee just by the fact that they were gone, right? But Oregon, Tiffany and I have known each other for a while now, and I've always been very grateful for our friendship and Tiffany's willingness to learn, her ability to share insight, her ability to kind of help be a sounding board for me. And she is in Bend. So if you have anyone in Bend that you is looking to buy or sell, by all means, reach out to Tiffany. And Tiffany, best place for you is
Tiffany Vasquez, Bend Realtor.
cool. And that's
Yeah, and I just shared in the group the link I have, and it's got a little bit more to it because it's got my little thing to have my client avatar, the avatar, buyer avatar create prompt. But I should
awesome.
have sent the link in there for everybody. And I agree, you guys have an amazing community. Nick Shoemaker and I were just laughing because we're like bouncing back and forth constantly. So thank you for putting this all together.
I love it. I love it. Nashville Nick. Shout out to Nashville Nick in the chat here. All right. So thank you, Scott. Thank you, Tiffany. We're gonna transition now because we got to show something as we let two of you run here. We got to show you something that is mind-blowingly cool, which is the new end of year recap. And so, Lee, let me go ahead and pull my screen up because I promised you guys that we would do this. So if you follow me on social media, you saw that I shared. I'll pull this up real quick so you can see this. I shared this on Instagram this past weekend. And this is, let me actually stop. Let me stop sharing real quick because I'm so excited about this lead that I'm just tripping over myself. Every year, brands like Spotify do something called Spotify Wrapped. You guys have seen this, right? Where like it's like here's the music you listen to. Lee, I'm not going to share my Spotify Wrapped publicly,
Oh, I
but
thought that.
it's going to be, I'm telling you, Lee, it's going to be all like K-pop demon hunters at this point because of my two girls. So I'm not sharing it publicly. So the uh, the the thing is that I think an agent right now, perfect opportunity to do an end of year wrap. An end of year wrap lead could be like, the number of houses you sold and the most volume you produced. You could also have something like things like going even beyond that. You could have stuff like the number of miles driven, the number of cups of coffee you drank, the number of open houses you held, the number of offers you submitted, your offer acceptance rate. So what I did is I created an end of year wrap. I'm giving you a 2024 example here, but I used Claude to create an end of year wrap. And by the way, I did this with one prompt. I'm going to give you guys the prompt because we put it into a doc for you for a prompt for both Instagram and for your website. So here's the prompt. And you can see here the number of open houses, the number of miles driven in different areas you drove to, your average views versus your competition's views, the number of offers written, what your acceptance rate was, right? Number of homes you sold. It's just beautifully designed. I'm gonna drop the link in the chat right now so everyone can see this, Lee. Beautifully designed kind of landing page that you could see. And this and like then you can have like your price trajectory, what your list price versus sales price is, and then the results. Lee, I took this and I turned it into an Instagram carousel that you could post as well.
It's amazing.
You guys see this? I mean, and I wish I can zoom out a little bit here. Let's be a little so you can see it in its kind of entirety.
So
And
took
so
each area and made it its own slide, right? Its own image.
that's exactly right. Took each section and turned it into its own image so you could share it on social media. This is and of course, you want to go a step further, you can turn this into an email campaign as well. I mean, this is how many of you, just in the chat right now, how many of you were planning on doing I'm not going to do the W thing, Jennifer. That's Chris's stream thing. Every time Chris Smith and I are all call together, he goes, if you love this idea, just say W in the chat. But I just want to know, we can do it as an ode to my buddy, Chris. How many of you were planning? Just put a W in the chat. How many of you were planning? I love it, Jennifer. How many of you were planning on doing an end of year wrap? Just put W in the chat if you're planning on doing end of year wrap. You can just see here, right? W. If you weren't, you should. I mean, busy people want to work with busy people. It's a great way to sort of wrap up everything you've done. We're gonna definitely, Bethany's listening right now. Bethany, we definitely have got to do one for listing leads. I mean, we have written like 70,000 letters this past year and emails and texts and scripts. And that's just like what we published. Like, the amount of words we've written, the amount of prompts we use for ChatGPT is outrageous. So, yeah, put a W in the chat. Now, here's the thing. What if your stats aren't as impressive? Leslie, it's okay. You can use ChatGPT to say like, give me a list of 25 things I could roll up or wrap up this year. And it could be miles driven, clients served. It could be, of course, production, but it could also be things like number of phone calls, number of emails sent, other just big numbers. So you can ask ChatGPT, right, to give you like 25 different examples.
Jimmy, I think that's too where we want to put in the personal thing as well a bit, right? Like I have a friend that did this as a mailer.
Yep.
And she would, she loved eating like blizzards at Dairy Queen. She's like 30 blizzards eaten or whatever. Like bring your personality into it. It's not, it doesn't have to be just stats.
That's Lee. I'm gonna go on record and say that's too many blizzards to eat in a year. I'm telling you.
It was a made up number, but
let's hope it's not that many.
Fair enough.
Since I had a blizzard. So my point is, I'm coming back to this screen here. Like you can use ChatGPT to basically help with that if you don't have super impressive production numbers as an example. And by the way, the beauty of this is, if I zoom in here, you can download this as an Instagram post. You could post to your Instagram profile. Everyone, we put the entire prompt in a doc for you. This is literally the exact prompt that we used. This is the exact prompt we used to generate the Instagram carousel. I asked this last week, Lee. I said, and Lee will drop the link here for you a second. I asked if it would be helpful because we use at Listing Leads, we use AI every single waking second of every day. And one thing that we wanted to do is we wanted to, yeah, Jennifer, how many times I wanted to quit real estate? Yes, that's an amazing one. If that's on brand for you, 100% go for it. I love that. Everyone's like, yes, I understand that one. So, the
this
thing
week or this year.
Exactly. That could be an end of week wrap up for you, Jennifer. So what I would say is like the biggest thing for us right now is uh, we got a lot of feedback from you guys last week, which is we want to be able to, like, if you guys are using AI, like we'd like to use AI too. So we want to be more public about the prompts that we're using. So if you want to personalize some of the stuff that we're creating, we're going to also include the prompt in there as well. And so I thought it'd be helpful. We have that guide for you. We'll drop it. We'll include it in the campaign kickoff. Now, let me just do one quick housekeeping item here, Lee, because I know we're over on time here, but I do want to cover this. As a reminder, when you're in listing leads, every single campaign kickoff here is on the left-hand side. You click on campaign kickoff. Every single training we have done, every single training we are now doing is in one place. So if you want to watch the recording, if you want to get the notes, if you want to get the prompts, we will have it available here. Also, I mentioned this last week, but we have a new feature, which is our favorites feature, which I'm obsessed with, which is within listing leads. We have a little bit of a problem, Lee. We have too many good ideas. We have literally over like 2,000 campaigns in listing leads. I mean, I'm so incredibly proud of this community and our team. We have created the biggest and highest quality database of marketing ideas for real estate agents in the history of real estate. I mean, and this is, there's nothing even remotely close to what we've done, from social media to videos to Instagram to advertising to emails to text. I mean, it is incredible. So the problem is too many good ideas. We added in a favorite feature. So you can come into any campaign. If you like that campaign, you want to make sure you save it for later, you can favorite it. It will show up in your favorites in the right-hand side. Let us know in the chat if you dig that feature, because we know we got a lot of requests for that as well. And let me ask one very last question, okay, before we wrap here today. One very last question. Because Lee and I'm going to be transparent here. Thank you, Sherry. Thank you, Jennifer. Lee and I have been thinking deeply about ways to better serve our listing leads community. And we've been thinking about what type of features we want to build for our community. What are things going to make things easier for you? What are things going to help you be more successful? What are things going to help you be more consistent for you? And I'll say the one thing that has come up a couple times, and let me give a big disclaimer. This is me doing research, not me announcing a new product or feature. Okay, so let's get that on the record. Hit record, Lee. So we have
yeah,
this.
it's recording, and I just typed it in the chat. So
This is, but I do want to say, because we have 170 people live on this call, we'll have a couple hundred more to listen to the replay. We've been thinking about this idea of, we at Listing Leads can envision a world where we could build a marketing agency specifically for listing leads customers and clients in our community. And what that is effectively saying, we can just do it for you. Meaning the emails, the texts, the listing promotions, the mailers, the social media, we can effectively do it for you. Now, normally, if you were to hire a marketing agency for anything in real estate, you're spending, I mean, a good one, you're going to spend, $3,000, $5,000, $7,000 a month if you want it to be personalized to your brand. I think in today's world, it's now becoming possible where you can hire a marketing agency that's very good at their job and can personalize the marketing for your business and have the right strategy, where you can get it for probably less than $1,500 a month or $2,000 a month, which is, I mean, a fraction of what a full-time marketing person would cost. And so we have a lot of marketing admins on today's call who would probably use us for overfill, if you will, because they have way more things to do than they have time. But I want to know in the chat right now, you got to let me know with W.
We're doing the W. I was going to say
we're doing the W right now, because we might as well, right? It's an easy button to hit. If we were to introduce an agency option at Listing Leads, I mean, a complete done for you option, is that a W in your book? Is that something we should be serious about? Should we think about? Should we plan about? Should we maybe even beta test it a little bit? Like, you got to let us know in the chat. This, by the way, this would not be like $100 a month. We'd have to charge $1,000 or $2,000 a month to do something like this. But I think for most people, we have, to be clear, Listing Leads is insanely affordable, $99 a month or $139 a month. We're never going to change that. I mean, we want to make ourselves accessible. If you got more time than money, that's why we exist. But for some of you on today's call, you need to have people do it for you. And if that is the case, then I think for our perspective, we just want to say, like, you got to tell us if that's interesting. Now, to be clear, we might just decide to partner with an agency and just bill out 3 or 4 and just, train them on becoming Listing Lead certified. That's an option too. But I want to understand what the demand is there and if there's a lot of value. And based on the W's there, we got a lot of people saying, yeah, W, W, W. And yes, people have been asking us to build a CRM for a while. We've been thinking about that one as well. Trust me, we've been working on some stuff behind the scenes. Okay, cool. All right, good poll. I'm curious. I'd like to get that feedback as well. Lee, great campaign kickoff call. I want to give a quick note before we wrap here, which is next week, we are doing a special edition of Campaign Kickoff where I'm on with Tom Ferry, David Childers from KCM, where we're going to be covering expired marketing. We are about to have a like $1.3 billion jump ball come January 1st with a number of listings expired. We're putting together a brand new 2026 expired blueprint that's going to include social media promotions, direct mail campaigns, scripts. It is only going to be available to listing leads clients. Okay. I mean, this thing is going to be so mind-blowingly good. I want to get everyone in our community executing against this idea. It's one of the best things to do. So next week, we'll get you, make sure you get the link, but we won't have a traditional campaign kickoff call. Instead, I'll be on with Tom Ferry and David Childers, giving you guys a State of the Union. And remember, we will have the playbook ready for you as well to make sure you are prepared for January 1st. All right, Lee, that's all we got today, my friend.
Love it. Thank you guys.
Thanks, everyone.